Welcome to Vacuum Wars, and to our review of the Dyson Spot+Scrub AI robot vacuum. Dyson introduced a lot of features in this model that they have never had on a robot before, adding a mop component, a bagless auto-empty dock, and AI obstacle avoidance. So we were very interested to see how Dyson's new model would perform with so much first-time tech on the Spot+Scrub. We bought one and put it through all kinds of tests over the last few weeks to try out its new abilities, and if it ended up earning a spot on the Vacuum Wars Top 20 Robot Vacuum list at vacuumwars.com. Links are in the description, and let's get started. Starting with the basics. The Dyson Spot+Scrub AI is a premium robot vacuum and mop combo that comes in at a list price of $1,200. Starting with the pros, one of the biggest pros was Dyson's first ever auto-empty bagless base station. As expected, Dyson brings a lot of credibility to this category. They pioneered the cyclonic bagless bin system, and they've consistently produced some of the highest suction on the market. While we don't directly measure suction in robot vacuum bins, it's reasonable to assume that Dyson's system is operating at a very high level. In real-world use, the performance was surprisingly strong. After going nearly 2 weeks without vacuuming, which is a long time in a home with 2 cats, the bin was able to fully pull out and separate the accumulated pet hair. That's something robot vacuums don't always handle well, especially with bagless systems. Another standout was how dry the bin was. Earlier bagless bin designs we've tested can struggle with moisture or damp debris buildup, which can cause clumping and low efficiency. Dyson seems to have avoided that issue entirely, which suggests they've made meaningful improvements in how the system manages airflow and separation. Advances in this area could point to a bigger industry shift away from costly consumables like disposable bags. The dock handles some mop maintenance features as well. It refills the robot's water tank and empties the dirty tank, washes the mop with 140 degree Fahrenheit water, or 60 Celsius, and dries it with 113 degree Fahrenheit air. The next pro is the obstacle avoidance, which was another surprise, considering Dyson has not had this on a robot before either. The feature that gives this model its name, Spot+Scrub AI, uses an AI-powered camera and a green spectrum LED light to sense the environment and identify obstacles as well as messes. Dyson specifically states that this AI processing happens locally, without sending images to a cloud server. And this system did an awesome job in our standard obstacle tests and our torture test, avoiding a total of 20 out of 24 possible objects, well above the average. This kind of performance would be impressive on a mature obstacle avoidance system, so for a new system to score this high is really remarkable. The next pro was the mop, another first for a Dyson robot. The mop is a roller style, which is good for processing wet spills in particular, and they don't leave as much used water on the floor as dual spinning or flat pads. The robot sprays the roller with fresh water from the clean water tank and collects used water in a dirty tank. Interestingly, both of these tanks are accessible, which is a feature we really like. Some roller mops build these tanks internally, so that the user is unable to open them, which is a weakness if something goes wrong. The mop lifts about 10 millimeters above carpets, so it can clean both hard floors and carpets in a single run, and the mop extends to the side for coverage along walls. In our coffee stain test, the mop was able to get an above-average score, and it did this while only leaving behind the average amount of water. This gave the Spot+Scrub a really good combined mopping score. We've seen some extreme results in robot mops lately, swinging high in some tests but low in others. So we like to see a mop that was capable in the metrics we care about. And while we didn't test this, Dyson says the robot is programmed to return to stubborn stains up to 15 times until the mess has been removed. The battery life is a pro, and this is an area where it really stands apart from its predecessor. The battery life on the VizNav was terrible, and it was a huge complaint for us. The Spot+Scrub has made significant improvements, with a battery efficiency that's much closer to average. This made the total estimated square feet per charge more than double the VizNav's dismal number, and while this is still below average when compared to other robots in our dataset, it's such a big improvement that we think it qualifies as a pro. The Spot+Scrub's vacuuming was another pro, but it's worth mentioning that this is one area where it dropped in performance from the VizNav. We noticed that vacuuming scores can dip when robots add a mop. This is possibly because the extra hardware limits the brush's contact with the floor, but whatever the reason, it's a trend that seems pretty consistent. The brush system changed in the new model, going from a hefty roller bar to a more standard bristle design and 2 fixed side brushes, and the robot automatically boosts its suction over carpets. In our carpet deep clean test, where we embed sand into medium pile carpet and measure how much the vacuum can remove, it scored around the average. The pet hair pickup test had a similar result. For this test, we press 2.5-inch hair onto carpet and measure how much the robot can pick up. The Spot+Scrub again came in about average, although compared to the VizNav's perfect score, it was a drop. Its Crevice test was really good. with a much higher than average score, which makes for effective cleaning on floors with deep grouts or grooves. Moving on to the cons. There were a few areas where the Spot+Scrub wasn't very strong. One issue was that it's a little slow. The navigation system has changed from VSLAM on the VisNav to a direct time-of-flight embedded LiDAR. Compared to the VisNav, which has an above-average navigation efficiency, the Spot+Scrub was below average, and it's something users might notice. Another con was in the anti-tangle test, where we checked tangle resistance with 7-inch hair. The Spot+Scrub wasn't great in this, with 31% of the hair wrapping around the brush, which is worse than average and not something we like on a robot at this price tier. It also doesn't have any noteworthy threshold climbing, and it can only cross a basic barrier of 20 millimeters. The app hasn't been one of our favorites, so it's going to have to be a con. It has a lot of the basics you want, including real-time mapping, no-go zones, and schedules, but in general, it lacks a lot of the more granular features we've come to really like in other brands. Lastly, it's much taller than the average robot vacuum, and it was also wide enough to struggle in between furniture in our informal home tests. This can come from a lot of things: motor, brushes, mop system, dustbin size, and these were things we mostly liked about this model, but those features need room, so they come with that trade-off. Dyson is doing 3 major things for the first time on this robot, and they actually did them well right out of the gate. The most impressive part, and what we think the rest of the industry should be paying attention to, is the cyclonic bagless bin system. The ongoing issue with hair clogging inside robot vacuums just has to be solved, and Dyson looks like they're on the right path here. It handled pet hair especially well, and importantly, it stayed dry. Obstacle avoidance is another standout. It's top tier, which is surprising for a first effort. They also fixed one of their biggest earlier weaknesses: battery life. This is the first robot from Dyson where that's no longer a deal breaker. So when you put it all together, this is the first Dyson robot vacuum that we can genuinely recommend. And while it didn't end up making the Vacuum Wars top 20 list, it's a very good product that you should be proud to own, and it seems like Dyson is on the right path to compete at a high level in the future of this category. Don't forget to subscribe to Vacuum Wars before you go, and thanks for watching. Vacuum Wars independently tests new vacuums year-round, and the links in the description are updated regularly to reflect our latest top picks across multiple categories. You'll also find detailed rankings on the Vacuum Wars website, including our top 20 robot vacuums, top cordless vacuums, and more. Every review here is unsponsored, just honest results. Subscribe so you never miss one, and tap the next video to keep watching.